Greg Abbott has been shipping migrants, asylum seekers, migrants in general, to blue states for a while now. He's been busing them. On top of that, Ron DeSantis, who very famously and very classically loves getting in on like a good media, like a good rowdy media cycle by making a name for himself all the time, and he's done this time and time again, has decided to join in on the fun, where he took some 50 Venezuelan migrants from Texas and flew them out to Martha's Vineyard. Now, Martha's Vineyard is an island. It's not like it doesn't have the capabilities of like dealing with a steady flow of migrants, obviously. But they could do that if they were, told ahead of time, which of course Ron DeSantis didn't do that because his goal was not to actually he did not have the best interest of the migrants at heart. He just wanted to use them as a political pawn. Okay, that's precisely what they did. Yeah, the permanent population of like 15K people there, it's tiny. Exactly. And they're using taxpayer dollars too to be able to do this, which is really f***ed up. Wildly funny that DeSantis flew migrants to Martha's Vineyard to serve as a paragon of liberal elite hypocrisy, but did not consider that almost no community would be as capable and inclined to take great care of their migrants, then publicize the hell out of their own virtuousness. This is not a hit at the Martha's Vineyard residents. I'm very grateful for what they're doing. It's just a fact. Yeah, exactly. So there were a couple L's there. The number one L was that rich liberals love doing shit like this. They love looking good. They love looking like they're better people than Republicans. And also on top of that, not everyone is a piece of shit, Ron. So now Ron DeSantis looks like a asshole because he is an asshole. And so does Greg Abbott. So it's like kind of blowing up in his face. Let's take a look, though. This is what the White House said. Oh, I hope he goes to jail for
fired
this.
Back at the Republican governors of Florida and Texas, accusing them of playing politics with human beings after they sent buses and planes full of migrants to Massachusetts and Washington, D.C. Senior White House correspondent.
It looks good to Republicans, no? No, it doesn't. Which is why they're desperately trying to cut. Okay, you know what I'm watching right now? I'm watching Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott doing human trafficking children, okay? Which is illegal for those of you who don't know. For just a few and a haha, look at this politics thing. And I'm watching it blow up in their faces because the migrants are actually getting taken care of by the blue states because they're using it partially because they're like nicer and also partially because they want the good PR as well. So like it's blowing up in their faces, which is why they're trying to desperately turn this into something it's not. That's why they sent in Fox News reporters to Kamala Harris's house. That's why they sent Fox News reporters to Kamala Harris's house and not immigration lawyers. The only people that were informed about this shipment, like we're talking about migrants, like human beings, like they're baggage, right? These guys sent Venezuelan migrants under false pretenses to different states, telling them that there's housing and adequate, jobs and shit available, specifically lying to them, okay? And there are children involved in it as well. And they expected people to turn them away, I guess, or not be able to deal with it. And they did it in the worst possible way as well. They didn't inform a single state authority. They didn't tell anyone that these migrants were coming. And they didn't send them to an appropriate place that could house them. They sent them to Kamala Harris's house, okay? Or they sent them to an open lot. And these guys can't even speak English. They are legally within their rights to seek asylum, but they just got dumped in the middle of nowhere, okay? They basically invented a fake caravan, right? And they did this with taxpayer dollars, which is ridiculous. And make no mistake, I mean, they only informed Fox News reporters that this was happening. They didn't tell anyone to help out the processing of all these people. They didn't inform the state authorities so there was adequate shelter readily available. And guess what? It didn't work because they still found a way. People in Martha's Vineyard still immediately were like, okay, we'll figure it out. And they are providing housing for these people. They're providing, methods of doing their paperwork. They're giving them food. Starved them out too. That was another thing. Not to mention lying about their addresses on the immigration papers. Shouldn't that be illegal too? Yeah, that's another thing. So it is insanely illegal. It's kidnapping. It's human trafficking. It's just straight up illegal. But as I talked about yesterday, people don't really care about it because it's happening to migrants. And Americans do not have the capacity to understand that migrants are human beings. But here is the immigration attorney, Rachel Self, at St. Anthony's Church at Martha's Vineyard. After interviewing the Venezuelan migrants about how they got here, she calls the entire ordeal kidnapping.
Especially simple map of Martha's Vineyard and the United States and a brief brochure containing snippets from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts website and instructions to change their address with USCIS when they relocated. This is especially troubling as anyone with even the most basic understanding of the immigration proceedings knows that USCIS was not the agency with whom the migrants would have to record their addresses and has nothing to do with their cases in any way. It is
I don't know about trafficking, but definitely kidnapping. Bro, it is 100% trafficking. What the you mean?
Clear that this was an intentional attempt to ensure that these migrants were removed in absentia when they failed to change their address with the proper agency. This was a purposeful derailment designed to prevent people from complying with federal immigration. Especially simple map of Martha's Vineyard.
It's so bad that the founder of the Venezuelan group in Orlando is now against Marco, a 180 flip. At a press conference in Orlando condemning DeSantis' treatment of migrants, William Diaz, founder of Casa de Venezuela, shows this picture he took with Marco Rubio in the past and says Rubio has now abandoned the Venezuelan community. Yeah, Florida. Additionally ironic that Ron DeSantis did this, and he called it and said that, you know, there are greener pastures in Massachusetts and other places for you, implying that there is no green pasture in Florida, is literally like against the state building project of Florida. Florida has always been a safe haven for every anti-communist migrant, dude. What do you mean? You, one, called your state dog shit, which is hilarious. I agree. Okay. And two, you did this in the state that has the most anti-communist Cuban and Venezuelan migrant population. You idiot. You're not in Alabama. You do this from Alabama, then, you know, maybe the Purdue Chicken Factory is going to get mad at you because you took away their steady, fresh pool of labor, right? But overall, the people of Alabama are going to be like, yeah, that's right, whatever, you know, roll tide, baby. You did this from the heart of, like, people that literally, the people that vote for you are people that look like that have that same background, you idiot. I mean, I cannot comprehend a dumber decision here. Like, it is, no matter how Fox News tries to flip this and act like, and remember, we watched it yesterday. Fox News was there on site, and they were like, why is there no immigration lawyers here? Oh, and they came to Kamala Harris's house. Ha, ha, ha. And it's like, dude, these are human beings that you're with. Like, that is insanely cruel. That is insanely up. And you personally made it so that it was as difficult as possible for them to, like, actually make this transition. You kidnap people, and you ship them. You traffic them under false pretenses to a different state. And now you're trying to make it seem like this was the Democrats' fault, except it's your fault through and through. And the Democrats are actually picking up the slack here. And not only that, but it's, again, I think that this is another opportunity for the this is another situation where the Republicans overextended. Okay, just like with the abortion thing, when Republicans act out on their genuine policy attitudes, their genuine policy provisions, when they act out on their cruel and inhumane desires, most Americans are going to go, that's kind of wild that you're doing that. It is, of course, hilariously un-Christian-like, right? Obviously. So it is deeply, deeply hypocritical from that front too. But it's also, from an optics point of view, because that's all motherfuckers care about, from an optics point of view, it's also hilariously bad. Most people in general see themselves as empathetic, right? Like, if there was someone hungry, they would want to feed them. Yes.
The planes. They were told that they arrived last night, make it clear that they were lied to again.
My call was this was going to backfire. And a lot of you in the chat yesterday said, no shot, no shot. That's not true. You're wrong. You're naive. No, motherfucker, I'm not naive. I'm pretty realistic about this sort of stuff. They didn't take, like, rugged, criminal-looking people. They took literally anti-communist refugees escaping the treacherous, scary Maduro regime that makes up a pretty significant proportion of the DeSantis right-wing voter base, okay? There's babies involved. There's little children looking cute. They put microphones in their faces. Of course that's going to look bad. It goes against the propaganda the Republicans cut. You can't empathize with these people. You can never show them in a positive light. You can never show their humanity. And they failed. They did show their humanity.
Again and again. And fraudulently induced to board arrived last night, make it clear that they were lied to again and again. And fraudulently induced to board the planes. They were told there was a surprise present for them. And that there would be jobs and housing awaiting for them when they...
Your point yesterday that Fox News viewers have humanity was wrong. No, man. Every American fancies themselves to be a good person at the end of the day. And there are certain realities that they see right in front of their eyes where it's like it's almost impossible for them to not recognize this. When you have children coming off that bus, when you don't have like rugged looking, scary looking black guys from Haiti, for example, right? And they're wearing like fake Imperial Armani shirts or whatever, which is what you normally get from agitprop, right-wing agitprop on Tucker Carlson's broadcast usually. When you actually have like little kids in Marvel pajamas saying like, yay, I'm here. I thought that, we were going to have a better future here. All of a sudden, no psychopath, unless they're like severely white supremacist, okay? And a lot of white supremacist Americans are not like Klan level white supremacists. You don't understand that, okay? They're going to look at that and go, well, this seems kind of up a little bit. Okay. Also, it's really funny that people were writing this off as ultra leftos expressing skepticism that kind of polarized black and white morality and misunderstanding of pathos peak rad-lib behavior. People fail to comprehend, though, that like even racist motherfuckers don't want to be called racist. They understand that white supremacy and racism is wrong. They might be socially conditioned into believing in it. Okay. And there are plenty of people who are still going to say, nah, it's a good thing that they did that. Okay. I'm telling you, I know that. I get it. There are plenty of people probably in your life that is like currently working extra hard to do mental gymnastics to make sure that this move actually looks good and looks adequate, right? Like I'm sure that is a thing that's happening. But we're talking about the broad majority of Republicans, right? There are more people than just like your mom and dad that is brain broken by watching Fox News every goddamn night. And to a broad majority of people, this is going to look like a bunch of people were tricked. And now the Democrats are actually taking care of them. These liberal elites are actually taking care of them.
This was obviously a sadistic lie. Not only did those responsible for this stunt know that there was no housing and no employment awaiting the migrants, they also very intentionally chose not to call ahead to any single office authority on Martha's Vineyard so that even the most basic human needs arrangements could be made, ensuring that no help awaited the migrants at all was the entire point. They were provided with a cartoonishly simple map of Martha's Vineyard and the United States and a brief brochure containing snippets from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts website and instructions to change their address with USCIS when they relocated. This is especially troubling as anyone with even the most basic understanding of the immigration proceedings knows that USCIS was not the agency with whom the migrants would have to record their addresses and has nothing to do with their case.
They made it purposely difficult for them to like actually go through the proper protocols. It's like additionally disgusting.
In any way. It is clear that this was an intentional attempt to ensure that these migrants were removed in absentia when they failed to change their address with the proper agency. This was a purposeful derailment designed to prevent people from complying with federal immigration policies. This is problematic because this should not be interfering with federal immigration policy. Before they boarded the planes, the migrants were processed by agents of the Department of Homeland Security, who listed falsified addresses on the migrants' paperwork. Agents apparently chose random homeless shelters all across the country, from Washington to Florida, to list the migrants' mailing address, even when told by the migrants that they had no address in the U.S. According to the paperwork provided to them, the migrants are required to check in with ICE office nearest to the fake address chosen for them by DHS or be permanently removed from the United States, with some required to check in as early as this coming Monday. It could not be clearer that this is an attempt to ensure that these people are ordered removed, even as they try as hard as they can to comply with the instructions provided to them. There is no other reason to list as someone's mailing address a homeless shelter in Tacoma, Washington, when they ship him to Massachusetts. It is sickeningly cruel, throwing obstacles in the way of people fleeing violence and oppression, some of whom walked through 10 countries in the hopes of finding safety. It is shameful and inhuman. Many of these victims were deprived of medical care despite clear existing injuries. These are human beings.
They didn't give them food, bro. They reached new levels of mania, man. New levels of cruelty. I swear to God.
Beings who were deprived of basic human rights. To the people who find themselves, these wonderful people who find themselves plane wrecked on our island, I have a message for all of them. You are not alone. We have your backs. We are proud to be here for you, and we've got you. If the intention of those who perpetrated this horrendous act was to create a crisis, you have failed. Their demeanor is kind, their demeanor is grateful, and their demeanor is just that they want to be doing everything right. Their biggest concern today is that many of them have dates to appear in San Antonio Monday morning, Tacoma.
Yeah. That's the worst part about this is that, like, I mean, obviously, like, shipping them off to a totally random area is, like, f***ed up in and of itself. But they did it in such a way that they can't even make their own court dates. They purposely misfiled their details so that, like, the people that they shipped off from Texas, not even Florida, by the way, Ron DeSantis took 50 Venezuelan migrants from Texas and shipped them to Martha's Vineyard, flew them out to Martha's Vineyard, and purposely misfiled their shit so that they couldn't even figure out when their next court date is and make it to their next court date. Because remember, it's like 98% that actually make it to their court date. 98% of asylum seekers make it to their court date. Remember how Donald Trump used to say, oh, they don't do it. They don't come back to their court dates, folks. And if they do, and then he changed it because people were like, well, guess what? That's actually not true. Everyone actually appears on their court dates because it's a legal process, it's a legal proceeding, and they want to, like, actually be in the country, okay? Then he started saying, well, the ones that do are stupid. He said they're not smart if they're coming back to their court dates. And that's what this is. Like, they're literally purposely trying to fuck up the numbers because the numbers already do not suit their agenda. Yeah, the migrants weren't even from Florida, by the way. Yes, Ron DeSantis took migrants from San Antonio, from Texas, and shipped them to Martha's Vineyard. And he paid $12 million to do so. $12 million of Florida state funds to fucking fly Venezuelans, misfile their claims, and ship them with no paperwork and no take ahead of time, no information ahead of time to the proper authorities. Ship them to Martha's Vineyard on purpose. If there was a God, Ron DeSantis would be struck down right now. If there was an adequate government, a real government that actually does government shit, Ron DeSantis would be in jail right now. He'd be in the court proceedings would have started already.
Washington, Monday morning. Washington, D.C., Monday morning. You tell me how that's possible.
We will be exploring all civil and criminal legal options to hold the perpetrators accountable and to prevent this injustice from repeating itself.
It's just like I don't even know what to say. Like, but at least like some of the Venezuelan voters, which are right-wing voters overall, have pushed back on Ron DeSantis. This specific segment of the government money that was seemingly spent making it reality 2 months later could use a lot more scrutiny. Anyway, when the GOPers do depraved stuff, it's worth looking for the Fox host who suggested it. This is Tucker Carlson on July 26th.
It's a natural. Joe Biden took 70% of the vote on that small Massachusetts island. Over the past 4 years, according to FEC data, 92% of all donations from its biggest town, Edgartown, Massachusetts, went to the Democratic Party. So you probably imagine Edgartown is pretty diverse. I mean, the Obamas lived on the island, right? No. In fact, we checked. At last count, Edgartown is 95.7% white. What century is that? As of 2019, only 3% of all people, all residents in Edgartown, were born outside of this country. So do the math. That's 17 people total. That's effectively zero diversity, which means zero strength. They are begging for more diversity. Why not send migrants there in huge numbers? Let's start with 300,000 and move up from there. As the island gets stronger, more has got to be.
And now more stuff like this is going to come out. The Daily Beast reports a migrant claims to have been paid $200 cash by a mysterious woman named Perla to recruit people from a Texas migrant resource center to board a plane to Martha's Vineyard. What DeSantis and the others involved in this scheme did was unconscionable. It makes me sick. Yeah. How do you spend $12 million shipping human beings across the country without setting aside at least 5 to avoid the top of the hour ad break? F you.
Into Florida like big caravans. The only caravans we saw were people that had H-2A visas. Well, those are obviously legal workers. So we've interdicted people on a onesie-twosie basis, and we said, okay, so we've had people in Texas for months trying to figure out how are these people getting into Florida. What
you literally went into Texas because you were so desperate to get in on the action that you couldn't even figure out migrants coming into Florida. So you went into Texas to own the Venezuelan refugees there. That's another crazy component of this. Like, they're not even getting people from Florida. He like went in. He went into Texas to look for new people that he could ship off.
What's the movement? And the reality is 40% of them say they want to go to Florida. And so that's a lot. I mean, when you talk about all those people. But the problem is...
Yeah, I wonder why 40% of the Venezuelan migrants in Texas want to go to Florida. I wonder if, let me think. I wonder if like immediate family members that also have taken advantage of the visa allowances and the temporary protected status that they have until 2024, and immediate family members that live in your state that literally vote for you, dickhead. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Perhaps. They call the city of Doral in Miami-Dade County Doralzuela because of the huge Venezuelan population here. Ron won't answer questions, so we looked ourselves. Florida paid Vertol System $615,000 on September 8th out of the $12 million deportation fund. So Floridians paid $12,300 for each refugee DeSantis trafficked for his own political purposes. More to come. Oh my fucking God. That's incredible, dude. I mean, this is... DeSantis should just deport all Venezuelan and Cuban migrants, legal or not, see how well future elections go for Republicans. I mean, dude, he just, like, this is his base. What is he doing? This is like immediate family members of his base that he's doing. Like, it is such a misstep on every front.
Yes. So the governor of California sent a letter to the Department of Justice saying you need to prosecute Texas and Florida governors. And all I can say is I think his hair gel is interfering with his brain function.
I hate this country so much, dude. I despise these motherfuckers, dude. I swear to God. Oh, he owned the libtard, dude. He owned the libtard. Yo, Governor Gavin Newsom, listen to me, motherfucker. Listen, you sexy. If you do not straight blow out the back walls of Ron DeSantis' now cancer-free wife, you are a pussy, okay? Go his wife. Stop the wives of every other Republican in California and go Ron DeSantis' wife and give her an orgasm for the first time of her goddamn life. The are you doing? What are you doing? Newsom, gruesome Governor Gavin Newsom, get the out of here. Go Ron DeSantis' wife. Shit, dude. Yeah, use your powers for good, Gavin. The hell is this? Start cucking Ron DeSantis and other political operatives within the GOP.
Thanks, guys.
Also, what an incredible counter, dude. I mean, he just did not even address anything that Gavin Newsom said about the criminality of the situation, and instead was just like, he has hair gel. And then all the hogs and hogalinas in the room going, oh, that's so good. That's so fucking good, man. You fucking got it. It's like, I want to video game myself, dude. Holy shit. God, please throw this motherfucker in jail. Please. That'd be so sweet.
Is if they're coming in through with like 3 people in a car and they go through, it's hard for us to know because they're just coming into the state like any other car. So if there's not a big movement. So they've been in Texas identifying people that are trying to come to Florida and then offering them free transportation to sanctuary jurisdictions. And so they went from Texas to Florida to Martha's Vineyard with a flight. There's also going to be buses, and there will likely be more flights. But I'll tell you this, the legislature gave me $12 million. We're going to spend every penny of that to make sure that we're protecting the people of the state of Florida.
Yeah, protecting them from Venezuelan migrants escaping communism, by the way. Remember, obviously, I don't give a shit about the whole, like, escaping communism narrative. Try to comprehend that, like, the people that he's talking about are his voters, his base of support, and people that have, like, America has historically offered lenient temporary protection status to. They have it until 2024, okay? And Florida has been built on this principle, like Cubans and Venezuelans especially. So him shitting on this idea is kind of funny because, like, no matter how much cognitive dissonance dumbass older reactionary Cubans have towards other migrants, because they were afforded an incredible asylum opportunity, right? It's going to be pretty hard for them not to comprehend that these are literally other Venezuelans. You know what I mean? Like, that's your cousin. That's your family members. That's people that look like you. That's people that are coming from the same background as you. It's going to be hard for Venezuelans not to realize, like, oh shit, Venezuelans in Florida, not to be like, oh, that's kind of up, as I was saying. And it turns out they are actually pushing back a little bit on this. But yes, Venezuelans have temporary protected status from Venezuela because, we hate Maduro. Remember, it's bipartisan. The only people ever afforded the wet foot, dry foot policy hate other immigrants. Cubans are the most immigrant group. I mean, yes, Cuban immigrants don't, and Venezuelan immigrants have a different status, but especially Cuban immigrants have a different status in the state of Florida, where they were afforded complete asylum and naturalization opportunities. And for that reason, they recognize that difference in treatment and pretty much overlook the difference in treatment when they're shitting on other migrants coming in. I hate these motherfuckers.